Oh, I'm sorry. Well, on that note, we just went live, so here we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Hey, boys, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Yeah, excellent.
Little jet lag. Just got back from beautiful Riga, Latvia.
And boy, do my arms hurt.
They hurt. They hurt.
Well, Latvia loves you, and so does the Data Center Podcast. Well,
Latvia's for lovers.
That's one of the topics. All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to all of our viewers and listeners. My name is Matt Kimball. I am joined by Will Townsend and Paul Smith-Goodson, the dynamic duo of all things data center technology. And they're the duo, and I just am the moderator, you could say. But welcome. And this is episode 52 of the Data Center Podcast. And we're here, as I said, to talk all things data center. We got a lot of things to tie off on today, including some HPE news, some Intel news, IBM and AMD. That's an interesting partnership. OCP, Open Compute, for those in the not in the know, Qualcomm and Google. But before we get into what we're going to talk about, we have to throw a disclaimer out there. Nothing we say should be taken seriously. We are a bunch of opinionated fools with lots of foolish opinions. And if you choose to invest or divest or do anything based on our opinions, then you deserve all of the bad news that comes upon you, or all the bad outcomes that you experience.
Yeah, there's a curse. There's a bad curse.
So please, for the love of God and everything that's right in this world, do not take anything we say as financial advice.
No.
With that said, we're coming off a weekend where Texas barely squeaked out a win against Mississippi State.
Thanks, Matt, for bringing that up.
And they were excited about it. That was the worst part. Sark was all excited about it, from one to done. And a lot of news is going on. So maybe we could tie off on the UT stuff at the end, but let's jump right in. Will, you had some takeaways from HPE's Securities Analyst meeting. What did you take away, Mr. Speaking of not financial advice?
Well, number one, I was included in a very small, select, elite group of industry analysts to attend the event. It was my second visit to the New York Stock Exchange. Pretty exciting. And obviously, Antonio Neri presented, Rami Rahim presented as well, that is leading the new networking business unit with the acquisition of Juniper. So yeah, I just wanted to share, a couple of little tidbits from that. I think for me, the biggest kind of factoid that Antonio shared was around his assessment of a $1 trillion TAM for HPE. And that is across networking, cloud, and AI. And he basically assesses that over the next 3 years. And if you think about it, that's pretty mind-blowing, right? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously the cloud piece with what the company continues to do successfully with GreenLake and, and GreenLake Intelligence, that agentic framework is poised, I think, for success. Obviously, AI from a compute and storage perspective is sizable. But what I really like about both Juniper and HPE Aruba coming together from a networking perspective is that it's a complete portfolio. And you could argue that Aruba on its own was missing some critical capabilities within service provider and data center. Mm-hmm. When you look at, what Juniper brings from a routing perspective and what Juniper also brings from a fabric perspective, routing, of course, and security and whatnot. And so from my perspective, when you look at what you need to do within AI with respect to scale out, scale up, and scale across interconnect for data centers, mm-hmm. it really does. Juniper really does complete the portfolio. So it's also a very high engineering bar. And what I also like about Juniper is that they're bringing some custom silicon capabilities to bear. And that's an area where their competitor Cisco is leaning very heavily with Silicon One. And when you look at, what Cisco is doing with smart switches, integration of DPUs on those switch products, but Aruba was the first to market with a top-of-rack data center switch with AMD Pensando probably 3 or 4 years ago. But anyway, I like all this. It brings a second very highly competitive company to the space for data center. And it's going to be really fun to watch as all of this sort of unfolds really next year from my perspective. So that's my take on it.
So my apologies for the visual effects while you were talking.
It's a little distracting.
I was throwing you off there. So let me ask you this, Will. This Juniper acquisition closes. This is tied into what you were talking about. So, completes the portfolio, compelling. Meanwhile, Cisco is off doing Silicon One, and they have their own scale across kind of announcements they're making.
Yeah.
How do you look at this market? I mean, this obviously puts HPE in a more competitive position relative
Certainly.
to Cisco. Do you see this as a share grab from HPE, or do you see them both just kind of further deepening their roots within their respective customer bases?
That's a great question. From my perspective, I think there's an opportunity for HPE to take some share from Arista, that has traditionally been very, very strong in the data center. While Arista, with Todd Nightingale now on board, former Cisco exec, who's a good friend of mine, they are, and Todd and I had a chance to talk recently. They're really going to focus on campus and branch because that's been an area that they've underpenetrated. They haven't had the right alignment, and now with their acquisition of Versa, they have an SD-WAN solution that they can use as the tip of the spear to go into those segments. So I think, and obviously this market is growing. Obviously the investment in AI data centers is growing. But I mean, Cisco, they're a very, very strong incumbent. But I do believe this gives, someone like HPE an opportunity to take some share. There'll be a little bit of share shift here. But I think the opportunity for them to, to take a little bit of share from Arista, just in my opinion, is good for them. And we'll see what happens. Like the adoption of Mist with respect to campus and branch is compelling. There is an opportunity to kind of build upon that with the fabrics that they deploy within the data center domain. Yeah. So there's just a lot going on here, Matt. But I do really like HPE's opportunity to really, win solidly in the data center space.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
And I know you want to be concise, so I'll be quick.
I'm trying to.
When it comes to, so you think about traditional networking, you've got obviously, you've got HPE, Juniper, you've got Cisco, you've got Arista, and you've got others out there.
There are.
You've got
Extreme networks. They're kind of trying to claw their way as a challenger for sure.
Yeah. But then you get this move with AI, and AI is kind of a disruptor, so it kind of opens things up.
Yeah.
With more open kind of standards and more kind of companies that are in the open compute ecosystem, if you will, that seems to be pushing as well. Do you see that as a challenger to the kind of the establishment, if you will, or no?
Not to that, not to a great degree.
Okay.
Yeah, but a good question.
That was very concise. Look at that.
Thank you. I'm jet lagged, so I'm trying to be, succinct in my response.
Lagged and lagging. Love it. All right. Love it. Paul, you got any questions before we move on?
No, I'll just make one comment. I think the HPE CEO, Larry, said that the networking market has got to a point, an inflection point that it's going to take more and faster innovation just to keep up with AI and what's going on with that segment. I don't know. Did he mention anything about that when you guys were there?
Not specifically, Paul, but like you're straight on with that assessment. And what I like about the combination, and by the way, I'll say that there were a lot of my peers that were dismissing the acquisition as like a share consolidation move. And then there were a lot of my peers that said the deal wouldn't get done. I spend time with the company and I understand the underlying technology, and I was always bullish on it. What's exciting, and one of the things that Neri did speak to when the deal closed, was the combined engineering resources. So having just a much larger, a much deeper bench to drive innovation. And when you look at what the company has done with its labs effort as well, I expect to see some synergies there. And Juniper had a labs effort. I'm forgetting what they called it, but it was much smaller, obviously, than HPE's capability there. But yeah, I love the resulting deep and broad engineering bench, and I'm expecting to see some fruits that come from that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's move on to topic number 2, which is me. All right. So Intel shows momentum in its earnings. What did I mean by that? Huh?
Yeah. They're trying hard. Yeah.
So last week, Intel announced its Q3 fiscal year 2025 earnings, and the numbers were good, but I think there's more behind it that gets me a little bit more excited. Might be the wrong word, but gets me a little bit more bullish on what Intel is doing. So first, the numbers: $13.7 billion in revenue, great, up slightly year over year, up slightly over year, and just a bit over, or maybe down just a little bit over the previous quarter, but right in line, kind of pretty steady. 40% gross margin, way up year over year, 22 points, up 22 points year over year, up strong quarter over quarter as well, and delivered on EPS 23 cents per share. Fantastic, way up quarter over quarter and year over year. DCAI, which is what I care about. PCs are cute, but I really care about the data center.
Right.
DCAI business, they came in at just about $14 billion, which is down again. Up a little bit quarter over quarter. I mean, year over year, and up a little bit more quarter over quarter. But that margin business is really what I care about and I like to look at. They came in at about 24 points of operating margin, which is up 7 points quarter over quarter, and way up year over year. So good numbers fundamentally for the quarter. It shows that they're executing better, more efficiently, right? They found more operational efficiencies to drive up margins. But it's some of the stuff they talked about that made me more excited and bullish on where they're going. So they talked about they see demand outstripping supply throughout the end of the year. Really positive sign. They talked about 18A, which is their 2-nanometer process, as humming along, and I'll hit on that in a little bit in a second here, which is fantastic. And they talked about 14A starting to find momentum with customers, which again is super interesting. Their foundry business, and they sold off obviously Altera, which is good for them. So demand outpacing supply. This is great news. They've been selling Xeon 6 for some time. This has been something we suspected was starting to recapture interest with the hyperscalers. This is confirming that. And they've had a very sticky enterprise business. So that's very, very good. 18A with, I love what they're doing with 18A and how they're proving it out. So I'm going to take just a second. I promise I'll be quick because I know we're all on a tight timeline. But when an IT organization buys a server with a CPU inside of it, they think, oh, I get more cores, or it's a faster clock speed, or I get more memory, and that's great news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely do they think about the process node it's bought on, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at Xeon 6 and what it went out on, I think it was a 4 or 5 nanometer process it was built on, and it did a great job, and it delivered a lot of value. And when you looked at performance per watt, it was a really strong play. So, and that was both their efficiency part and their performance part. What they're doing with 18A, which is their 2 nanometer process, is they're taking the Xeon 6 efficiency part, known as Sierra Forest. It's got a whole bunch, like 144, 288 cores on it, like super high, high scale out part for really built for cloud providers. Mm-hmm. They're taking that same architecture and they're going, we manufactured this thing on 4 nanometer. Now we're going to manufacture it on 2 nanometer. And so same exact architecture, not tweaking it at all, right? Mm-hmm. When they move it from their old process to 18A, they're seeing a 17% performance increase. So almost 20% increase in performance, just in raw performance, by going to that smaller node. Transistors get closer together. Signal integrity improves. Move power to the back side of the wafer, so you've got cleaner signaling overall. 17% improvement in performance. When you look at performance per watt, it's going through the roof. They're talking triple-digit increase in performance per watt. So they're proving this goes to show how important that manufacturing process is to chips. We think architecture and cores, and we compare EPYC to Xeon, which is a fair comparison to make. Or sometimes we even look at transistor technology, right? Like, hey, is it 3D? Is it 2.5D? Is it ribbon FET? How am I feeding voltage and current into that? And that's kind of interesting. But the manufacturing process is so darn important. And that really is kind of, when I look at what Intel announced and where it's going, this 18A being stood up and hitting like volume production, to me is the brightest part of all of this announcement, because they're going to deliver significant improvements over the next year, and that is going to set momentum for 14A, which really drives the whole like onshoring of chip manufacturing and bringing back chips to the U.S. instead of shipping up to Taiwan or South Korea. So really positive numbers, really exciting to see. And by the way, client did well too, but we don't care about client. And I'm going to leave at that for the sake of being brief.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think what it also does too, Matt, is it improves the profit margin as well, just because you're getting more CPUs off the wafer, right? So it's good all around for Intel. But as we've discussed on prior podcasts, they have had challenges with bringing up these nodes, right? But so time will tell. But it all looks very promising.
It does. And Intel's going to have a very unique differentiator. So, TSMC is going to be at a 2 nanometer, and is doing 2 nanometer as well. But and when you look at 2 nanometer, it's 2 nanometer is 2 nanometer. It really isn't. But let's just, for the sake of argument, say it is. They're both using what they call ribbon FET technology, which is where you wrap a transistor in a very thin layer of material to keep current leakage, which is important. Which you go, but you can improve your performance or your power efficiency by about 30% with that. Wow. But something else they're doing is they're using what they call power via, which is a methodology where instead of applying power to the front side of the chip, the wafer, you're coming around the back side. So you don't have all this power running through the front of your chip, which makes that move. Well, number one, it brings the voltage and current closer to the parts itself, to the transistors themselves. But it also cleans up the signaling between all of those transistors, so you don't have a lot of signal interference happening between them. So it makes it cleaner and also gives you greater density of transistors. That's something Intel is doing, TSMC is not doing. So it's going to give Xeon a distinct advantage in kind of finished product over those that are going on TSMC. So,
interesting. Boy, that was a nice little education lesson for me on Semiconductor 101, Matt. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Paul's chomping at the bit. I can see it.
No, I'm just thinking that, put a stick in the ground, wrap some wires around it, and connect it to AI, and people will want to buy it. I mean, AI is really a demand driver for just about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's driving demand across x86, and Intel positioned pretty good to take advantage of that.
Are you saying that you've wrapped a stick in the ground and wrapped some wires around it?
I'm gonna go try it. I'll let you know how it turns out.
Just don't do that during a thunderstorm. We've had some weather in Texas recently,
Yeah.
so we don't want you to get electrocuted, Paul.
Right.
Yeah, that's not AI. That's just old-fashioned spark.
My light rod. All right, let's move on. We got speaking of Intel, now we're going to jump over to AMD and IBM and what's going on there. What do you got for us, Paul? Chip Titans Unite.
Yeah, that's kind of I mean, you look at what's going on in the quantum market right now. I mean, we finally kind of got to the point where we can do quantum error correction, or we've got a plan for doing it, and it's going to work. And so now everybody's looking to the beginning of the next decade to have these big monster quantum computers that are doing full-time quantum processing. So companies are getting together. The natural offshoot of this is that, you put quantum and classical computing together and you make a big supercomputer. So that's what IBM and the AMD are doing collaborating on a quantum-centric supercomputer. I think, they both have got all kinds of technical skills, and I mean, the two super companies are well managed, and AMD's got great products, IBM's got great products. So I think this is really going to turn out well. I'm really anxious to see what they do. It's not going to be without challenges. I mean, it's a big job, a lot of issues to deal with. One of the major issues is you think about it, is to build some type of operating and resource scheduling system to deal with two different types of compute. AMD operates on milliseconds. IBM deals with, like all quantum companies, deals with nanoseconds and milliseconds and microseconds.
Yeah.
So you got a little difference there. I'm kind of curious to see how they manage that. Another issue is that I don't know how it's going to turn out. Is that IBM has got you got to drop everything down to a really low temperature to make these superconducting qubits work. And AMD, I don't know how software is going to operate when they cross over at some point with that.
Yeah.
I know both these companies are great. Any issues that come up from a technical standpoint, I know they can solve them. So I think it's going to be a great partnership. The core expertise of these guys, IBM has got quantum computers. They've got the System 2. They've got, they've got a roadmap going out to beyond 2030.
Yeah.
They've got quantum software and everything. AMD's got the CPUs, the GPUs, and AI accelerators. That all those things. That's pumping up the fastest classical supercomputers, Frontier and El Capitan. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I think they're supposed to have some type of demonstration coming up, some type of hybrid workflow later on this year. So, but
hey,
I'm pumped up.
Quick question for you: do you see a future where is this an AMD specific, or do you see Intel eventually? And I think AMD's. I don't mean this to like take away from AMD, but is this IBM wants to power the entire x86 ecosystem, or is there something special they're doing with AMD that they can't?
AMD, yeah, one of the key things that they're looking for to work out is how is the AMD equipment going to perform with quantum error correction, and that's the focal point. But I don't know why Intel couldn't do the same thing.
Okay. I would think that if it's a root level kind of instruction set thing, then that eventually gets contributed into the x86 instruction set. But yeah.
Don't you guys think it's going to be fun watching this?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's going to be great. Yeah. I mean, I think it kind of speaks to where the future is, right? I mean, this is where I think there are two ways to look at the world, right? One is kind of through the lens of science fiction, and quantum computers take over and we're all slaves to these robots that are being driven, or the kind of the pragmatic, realistic view, which is where quantum and classical are working hand in hand to solve the biggest challenges and kind of deliver, and kind of. Yeah, and I think it's more the pragmatic that we're going to see. So this is the beginning of the future, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just love the partnerships. There's a new one. It seems like every week, and I love the fact that AMD and Intel decided to get together and drive this x86 consortium or whatever they call it to further x86 relative to like ARM, because Matt, you've spoken about ARM on many of our podcasts, and they are, quickly becoming an up-and-comer in a number of different ways in this modern AI era. So it's a lot of what we're seeing is, and I've said this before on prior podcasts, is somewhat unconventional, but I like it. I think it's what's needed.
What I want to see is, okay, guys, what date are you going to project that you're going to turn the system up? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. When does this become real?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're going to hit a world where at some point there's no such thing as architectural affinity, and they're all just black boxes, and it's sitting behind it is a combination of quantum and classical doing all kinds of stuff.
AI. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, speaking of a question I asked earlier, Will, and I didn't mean to prefetch this, but
Okay.
You're on the hot spot because we're talking OCP and scale up Ethernet and the open ecosystem for AI networking. What do you get there?
Well, if you didn't know it, the OCP Global Summit just wrapped up last week. I caught a couple of the sessions, but I was hanging out in Europe at an event that I support every year in the Baltics. But what I want to talk about, there were a number of announcements. I could spend an hour kind of running through them, but the one that really caught my attention was a new working group, and this is called the Scale Up Ethernet for Scale Up Networking, or eSUN. So that's kind of a cool name. And so, the vision, I'm just sort of reading from their social post, leading the future of AI, where the OCP community comes together to share work in designing high-performance, large-scale data center infrastructure with a focus on interconnect. What I really like about this is that it involves a lot of players in the market: AMD, Arista, Cisco, HPE. And it sort of reminds me of like the effort around DPDK. And it was interesting. Early in my career as an analyst, I had an opportunity to spend time with TPDK. They would do these events in Dublin, probably because it was close to beer and Temple Bar and all that. But what I really appreciated was, these are fierce competitors that are working together. With TPDK, it was all about a different focus, but here it's the same. These competitors are coming together to better Ethernet. And what's really interesting, Matt, Ethernet is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. 5 decades of a technology platform in the tech industry is an eternity. Yep. And the fact that we've seen the evolution of Ethernet. We don't need InfiniBand, a proprietary architecture that NVIDIA acquired from Mellanox, to get the job done when it comes to interconnect, with these AI applications and workloads. So I just continue to be, really impressed. Again, somewhat unconventional, but competitors that come together to further a standard. And at the end of the day, who wins? Well, I think they win, but customers win from my perspective. So that's what I got to say about that.
Look at you. Who wins in the end? Customers. Oh, That's awesome. Oh, so customer centric you are. Let me ask you, so to be a little controversial here, right? So
Okay.
InfiniBand's not needed. People say that about NVLink, but can two things be true? Like if you are an NVIDIA only environment, there are certainly benefits to using, say NVLink and InfiniBand for kind of connectivity and networking, or scale up kind of connectivity,
Yeah. Yeah. I
versus,
think, yeah.
yeah, because I think it's funny because like I think if I were NVIDIA and I were looking at this, I'd say, well, in a lot of environments, yeah, we're going to support I can call it eSUN. We're going to support eSUN. We're going to support Ultra Ethernet. We're going to support all these different consortiums.
Spectrum X, their version of Ethernet. Yeah. Yeah.
But we're also going to offer, kind of proprietary connectivity that we think can deliver even faster for, our specific, and give customers choice. Do you think
Yeah.
that's a bad thing that they're doing? Or I shouldn't say bad thing because I don't mean to.
No, I think it's a good thing. I mean, anytime you can provide, customer choice, I think it's a good thing. And I'm not slamming InfiniBand, but
No, I know. Yeah.
and I believe that for certain workloads, like especially like, trying to cure cancer, like, weather pattern prediction and that sort of thing. I mean, interconnecting, data centers to do like supercomputing type, high performance computing type functionality. Now I'm getting into your coverage area, but I think, yeah, I mean, having InfiniBand sort of at the top of the interconnect infrastructure stack, it's a good thing, So I don't know what the mix is going to be, long term. Is it going to be 80%, 90% Ethernet versus 20 to 10% InfiniBand? I don't know, but it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. I think some people look at what NVIDIA does as a way to lock customers in, and there certainly is an element of that, and I applaud it. But there is, I know that, like when I look at NVLink, for example, for GPU to GPU connectivity, there's a real advantage to it.
Sure.
There's a real performance advantage to it, and an efficiency advantage to it. So yeah, it's just interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We're going on the AI front. We hit quantum. We hit all kinds of neat stuff. Qualcomm leans into inference. What the heck? This is late breaking news, by the way. We should have like an effect for like, I don't know, some explosions or something. But what's going on here? So a lot of folks don't know this, but they think of Qualcomm and they think of these things like, mobile phone. But Qualcomm has been in the data center business for some time. They have a part called the AI 100, which is an inference chip that is in a lot of the CSPs and does some very kind of power efficient inferencing, good enough power efficient inferencing.
Yeah.
And they've had success with that. They also bought this company called Nuvia some time ago, which does ARM-based CPUs, and that's what the MacBook is built on, is Nuvia technology, the MacBook chip, I should say. And that's what Qualcomm's new desktop or client CPU is built on as well. It's been out for a couple of years. Well, so Qualcomm has announced that they are doing a CPU for the data center, not called Centriq, that will be based on that Nuvia IP, which is fantastic. So ARM-based. But they also just announced today the AI 200 and AI 250. AI 200, which will be shipping early next week, and AI 250, which will be a better version of AI 200, which will be shipping, I should say AI 200 next year, AI 250 in 2027. These are rack scale inferencing parts that will go into CSPs or large data centers to provide inference at scale, super power efficient, super power efficient, and highly performant. So a lot of people think of AI, a lot of people watching will think of AI and they think it's dominated by NVIDIA and to a lesser extent AMD.
Mm-hmm.
Blackwell or Rubin Vera, Rubin Vera, or Rubin, I should say, or the MI355, MI400 from AMD. And from a training perspective, that's true. But when it comes to inference, where you don't need CUDA or you don't need ROCm, it's a wide open game.
Right.
And you see a lot of specialized inference parts come in, automotive versus industrial kind of, oil wells and oil rigs versus, defense, certain defense, Department of Defense applications, and then just at scale inference. And that's where Qualcomm comes in with the AI 200. It's going to be they're interesting because they have these relationships. They have such deep silicon expertise, and they've been doing this for a while. So they're going to be a really fun play to watch come into this market. And I shouldn't say challenge, but, offer an alternative out there for customers. So as part of their announcement, they have their first customer, which is Humane. If those, watching have been listening or been watching the market for some time, Humane is a Saudi Arabian kind of private public entity that is delivering AI infrastructure for government and personal use. Humane is going to be deploying these things at scale along with Qualcomm CPUs. So this is their first customer. It's going to be fun to watch where this goes. But yeah, Qualcomm, they're into inference in a big way, and I think they're going to really make a mark.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, when you look at traditionally what they've been really strong at in silicon has been power design and power management obviously for smartphones. And they've also parlayed that into their Dragon Wing platform, which is their IoT industrial set of solutions. They're already big in automotive. Obviously, they rule the roost in mobility. And I like it. I think this is a great, adjacency for them to go exploit. And to your point on inferencing, I mean, you can inference on x86, right? But what they're doing with a purpose-built part, I think is going to be pretty compelling. So they're just rocking it, man.
Yeah,
and team are just rocking it from my perspective. What do you think, Paul?
One thing good about this is if I remember right, the AI 200 has got tons of memory on the card.
Yeah,
better than NVIDIA, I think so. And you need a lot of memory for all the parameters and stuff you got with generative AI and.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of memory. So they're using, some would call it laptop memory, but LPDDR, so low power but high performance memory. So they're really
LPDDR, I think. Yeah. LPDDR?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. So they're really doubling down on that. And I think when a lot of folks think of inference, they think of again, Blackwell, or they think of MI355 or 400. And those are great parts, but they're GPUs and they're meant to do training and inference. This AI 200 and the 250, this is inference only. So you strip out a lot of unnecessary parts, if you will. You're building a stripped down Verge accelerator solely for the function of inference. And when you do that, you pull a lot of power off of that chip, which is what allows you to get that two things. Number one, you can get highly performant inference because you're tuning that chip specifically for inference. Number two, you're getting super power efficiency because you're taking off all the unnecessary parts, which makes that performance per watt number just go way up and to the right. So really excited to see where they go with this. And I'm sure we will see. Humane is the first, I'm assuming, of many CSPs and large enterprise organizations that will deploy this. No doubt about it. Yeah.
What do they have in terms of racks?
I'm sorry?
What does Qualcomm have in terms of a rack solution?
So that is the AI 200 will be a rack level inference. And I think they're talking about the full rack being 100 kilowatts. Yeah. Which, when you think about what they're packing in there and comparing that against what you would see from an NVIDIA or AMD, that's a very low power footprint.
Yeah.
Anything in cooling? Anything new in cooling?
Liquid cooled.
Yeah.
And it's going to be traditional kind of direct to chip stuff that they're doing. I don't think they reference who their partner in cooling is. I suspect they might probably be doing it themselves, but maybe OEMing like a PDU from somebody or a CDU from somebody. But I don't know that for certain. But my guess it's their own developed. I'm going to be interested to see if they take advantage of microfluidics over time on these chips to really drive down that power efficiency. But PUE. So anyway, yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
All right, one last piece here. Moving on from AI back out to quantum, because that's what we do here on the Data Center Podcast. We are with Mr. Paul Smith-Goodson and talk about quantum echoes. Ooh.
Whispers of future molecules. This sounds like a romance novel.
Sounds really, I mean, that sounds so AI, doesn't it? This is actually, quantum echoes is something that the real term for it, technically, is called an out-of-time order correlator algorithm. But that doesn't go good with the public, so Google decided that, well, let's call it quantum echoes. I mean, that's kind of like, you could make a movie about that, you know?
Yeah, write a romance novel with like tons of opportunities.
Explain what it is imagine Matt was in a party, and
I can't imagine that.
And he was listening to all the crowd noise around him, and he thought he heard his name mentioned someplace over in the corner, and he didn't know exactly what it was.
It was typically
recording it, everything going on. So he plays the recording back, and then out of the recording, all the crowd noise comes somebody saying, "That Matt is a jerk." That was the whisper he heard. That's kind of what goes on with this quantum whispering stuff, you know.
Paul, that's my inner voice. That's called my inner voice.
Yeah.
Inner voice.
We all know that.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way of putting that, though.
Yeah, they use that on the new Willow chip, and it looks like that feature looks like it's going to be able to be kind of like the new nuclear magnetic resonance, do even better than what we've got in NMR right now. Quite a bit better than that. So it looks like there's a future for that. And it was such a neat little feature, I thought I would kind of highlight it here. But there's a lot of Willow. The new Willow chip has got a lot of new advanced technology built in it. It originally came from kind of a prototype that John Martinez built back in 2004 or something like that. But the heritage was, I think, was bristlecone, sycamore, and then I think then they went into I forgot what ones were, but anyway, there's another one in there. Anyway, there's a heritage of architectures on this new Willow chip, and it's got a lot of really neat features, and it looks like, you know, Google is going to be able to accomplish a lot with Willow going forward. So
let me ask you, Paul, you mentioned Willow and Google. Is this something that Google eventually contributes out into the community, or is they're a differentiator and they don't, and other people just kind of figure it out?
This is their quantum chip going forward, and this is what their quantum computers are going to be built on. It'll be built on some variation of Willow. So.
All right, let me ask this differently. Is quantum a market where there is no standardization of kind of, I'm thinking in classic terms, right? If you think of instruction sets, like there's no standardization of kind of like, here are the kind of the core root kind of capabilities and functions that every quantum chip provider plays into, and then you build on top of that, or how's that?
Most of the stuff is IP. Yeah.
Okay.
The big difference between, you know, quantum and AI, I don't know if I told you guys my opinion on it. AI is fast and shallow, and quantum is deep and slow. I mean, you can take like quantum error correction, I mean, been working on that for decades. So it takes a long time to overcome some of this stuff. But with AI, I mean, you could have a young intern go out to lunch and have an idea at lunch and come back and build a new model.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that with AI, with quantum. I mean, quantum is years in the making.
Yeah.
And it's slow and it's deep.
But
So
that's today, right? I mean, it could be fast and deep over time as tooling improves. And
yeah, but it's still not going to be like AI. I mean, you know, it's going to be a long time for that.
Interesting.
it seems to me like if I'm an enterprise IT person, and obviously quantum is so far out, I'm trying to get past this AI hurdle before I even think about quantum.
Mm-hmm.
As I get to quantum, it sounds like from what you're saying that I'm going to have to make choices about where I place my bets and what I choose to either utilize a chip from Google or a quantum system from Google or from IBM or from Microsoft or somebody else, IonQ, and I'm kind of locked into that. I can't necessarily easily port, like in x86 where I could run the same database on AMD or Intel.
Yeah,
That's not the case.
You know, with some modification, I mean, you can run different algorithms on different machines. So, yeah, I mean, one thing, you know, Google is shooting for, I mean, they've got a lot of goals. This is a 105 qubit chip that Willow is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do, I mean, it'll be fault tolerant by the beginning of the decade. They're going to be able to do, once you get fault tolerant, you'll be able to do drug design, be able to create new materials. You know, they've been working on batteries for forever, it seems like. You'll be able to create a new battery, maybe with new material. And I mean, it's going to be a different world in 29 or 30.
Yeah.
You can do with the combination of quantum and AI and supercomputers.
Yeah, it's all going to, once it gets commercialized, it's going to be a lot.
This Willow, this echo that we were talking about, or whisper we were talking about, they'll be able to detect really tiny, like maybe even moving an atom within a molecule just a tiny bit. It'll be able to detect that.
Yeah.
So the big future, I think, on that is, you know, NMR. You know, it's going to be a super application for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Okay, listen, hey, we're coming up on this is great stuff, but we're coming up on a hard stop because we all have to jump onto other calls in a little bit. But before we get going, any closing thoughts from y'all on kind of what we talked about and, you know, what we're seeing and what you got coming up over the next few weeks?
My only point is it's fun to watch all the unconventional, you know, happenings that are going on. So that's my statement there. As far as travel, boy, I continue. Like I'm headed to Fortinet for an analyst event this week in Sunnyvale, and then I get a little bit of a reprieve, and then I'm in Barcelona. Well, actually, no, I'm forgetting about my trip to Tokyo with NTT mid-November, and then Barcelona early December, and then the Marvell Analyst Day. I may have mentioned that on the last pod. And then I'm done by the 10th of December, and I'm taking a much needed, you know, rest. And I know, Matt, you've been on the travel treadmill too, right?
Yep, nonstop. Lenovo last week, and then seeing my youngest kid at university, and we got Cisco coming up.
Oh yeah, Partner Summit. How can I forget about Partner Summit? Early November. I'll be there as well. So sorry, Cisco.
I'm on the road until Thanksgiving, and then up until I think the 10th of December, and then finally get to call it a break. But cool. So much news going on. It's hard to keep track of everything.
Yeah, I got to see Paul. Like we sat in a breakout at the Dell Tech Summit, so that was cool, Paul, to see you and catch up in person. We don't often get together in person because we're on planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah. Who is that strange creature? I don't recognize it.
I sit down, I go, it's Paul.
Yeah. Paul, you got anything coming up? Any closing thoughts?
I got a really exciting discussion with somebody that's very special. quantum person, and I'm really looking forward to that. I get to pick up my dog from the vet at 1:00. I'm looking forward to that. Not paying the bill. They always call you back and tell you, well, we got these 5 things we want to recommend. Each of them are no less than $500. So.
I know. They take advantage of them being our family members. Well, listen, when you meet the special quantum person, let's not get into whispers of future molecules, okay? Keep it high level, okay?
That's baby talk to him.
All right. Listen, we're going to close out on that note. Just a reminder to our listeners, if you take anything we say as serious investment advice, you are an unserious person. Do not do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. But thank you for tuning in, and we're going to be back at this in a couple of weeks, talking about more exciting stuff. And thank you for spending 50 minutes and 48 seconds with us. It has been truly a pleasure. Yes. And until then, safe travels to you guys, and we'll chat soon.
You too, buddy.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.